social media exploded. Demet Özdemir revealed the truth about Can Yaman. The timeline lit up, the comments piled in, and everyone had the same question: did she really say that about him? Welcome to my YouTube channel, Whispers of Turkish Stars. Before we dive in, if you love the real stories that slip through the cracks of polished interviews, you're in the right place. There are confessions you never see coming. They don't arrive as a dramatic confrontation, they don't sound like a rehearsed PR bomb, and yet the moment they spill out, the entire conversation changes. That's exactly what happened with Demet Özdemir's casual revelation about Can Yaman. It wasn't a declaration of love. It wasn't an angry clapback. It wasn't even meant to stir the pot. Still, it somehow leaked out from the shadow of the set and took center stage online. The phrase that detonated the gossip machine was so simple it almost felt innocent: a secret habit between takes. Demet said it with a smile, like a fond memory escaping on its own. But that one line worked like a spark in dry grass. What was this habit? Why had no one shared it until now? And why choose this moment to say it? People who have followed Can for years as the aloof, controlled leading man suddenly wondered if the person they thought they knew was only half the picture. In this video, we're peeling back every layer of Demet's unexpected statement. We'll walk you into the wings of the set, where the cameras rest and the truth stretches its legs. We'll look at what Can is really like when the director yells cut, why a seemingly light anecdote ricocheted across social media, and what it reveals about the couple dynamic that fans swear they can read in their eyes. The unexpected moment landed without warning. Demet spoke, and the backstage reality glimmered through. In the glossy world of celebrity talk, there are lines no one anticipates but everyone repeats. Demet's line was that kind of line. It didn't come from a podium or a scripted Q&A. It simply slipped out during a cozy, spontaneous chat, the kind where the laughter is honest and the memories smell like strong coffee and warm lights. And the aftermath? Extraordinary. One small detail from the time she and Can worked shoulder to shoulder flipped timelines upside down. Between takes, she said, there was a habit. Not a scandal, not a secret relationship status update, but a ritual that set the rhythm of the day. With that, social media didn't just react, it reset the narrative. Suddenly, millions were swapping theories about the man who carries a storm of mystery around him on screen. On camera, Can Yaman is carved from restraint. He knows how to hold a pause, how to let silence glow, how to keep his private life armored behind a cool smile. He speaks sparingly, prefers boundaries, and is famously cautious about letting tabloids nibble at his perimeter. But Demet's words hinted at a different Can tucked behind that image: electric, teasing, impossible to slow down, and above all, wedded to a particular habit he refused to break between takes. According to Demet, that habit wasn't just about him. It became the pulse of the set, a ritual with gravity. It tugged people into its orbit, it colored the mood of long days, and it turned break time into something like a small celebration that belonged first to him and then to everyone. That's why the anecdote, lightweight at first glance, ballooned into a headline everyone chewed on. The secret wasn't a scandal, it was a feeling. So why did the phrase secret habit between takes detonate such curiosity? Because fans live between two Can Yamans. The public icon and the man only a handful of people see up close. When Demet laid this breadcrumb down, it split viewers. Some were stunned, insisting they never caught a glimpse of it. Others admitted they always suspected there was a kinetic trickster behind the stoic leading man. And a third camp asked a sharper question: why reveal it now? In the world where timing is everything, nothing is random. The what and the when get studied with a microscope. Insiders say Demet has been leaning into a more unfiltered phase lately: looser, funnier, less curated, more ready to let her set memories breathe out loud. She isn't the type to wound with a story or toss anyone under the bus. She picks words that leave dignity intact, and that's exactly how this landed. Not an accusation. Not a dig. More like an affectionate snapshot from the messy and beautiful reality of filming. What she described sounded less like a gotcha and more like a grin in the shape of a sentence. She gave us a meter of music from their off-camera rhythm, and audiences pressed replay. Why? Because this kind of detail makes idols touchable. It reminds people that the glow on screen grows out of real people with quirks and rituals, not statues melted into suits and script pages. Once her words spread, the web split in two lively streams. One group found this hidden side of Ken irresistibly human. The others shook their heads. How had he kept it tucked away for so long? Meme makers dove in first, turning the habit into punchlines that never felt mean, while editors and fan accounts paused their usual montage work to write threads about the sweet chaos of breaks. Before long, the conversation leaped from gossip corridors into trending lists. But here's the kernel the industry always understands: breaks are where everything is forged. From a distance, a break looks like people scrolling phones and sipping water. On the ground, it's where chemistry is tuned and trust is quietly negotiated. People lean on cases of lighting gear and start telling the truths they can't cram into lines. It's where a character gets rescued by a stray idea. It's where a bad morning gets undone by a shared joke. It's where roles become relationships. And that's what makes Demet's story ring so loud. She wasn't naming names to cause chaos. She was showing us the corner of the room where the real team is born. According to her, Ken had a ritual that clicked into place every time the slate went down and the room exhaled. He would clap once, grin in that unmistakable way, and transform the break into a scene of its own. With the crew sagging under long hours and the cast shaking off heavy emotions, he'd spark a miniature routine, part challenge, part party, part pep talk. It always started with coffee, she hinted, and not the quiet kind. Ken loved the drama of pulling everyone toward a makeshift espresso corner, demanding a fresh round for whoever looked most exhausted. Music would pop from a speaker that had no business being that loud on a set, and in seconds the hair and makeup team would be laughing with the grips, the assistant directors tapping their feet even as they checked the next setup. Then came the other part of his habit, the undeniable signature. A quick, spirited workout circuit that he swore kept the energy high, 2 minutes of planks and laughs, a flurry of push-ups between smiles, a dare to try one more rep, a ridiculous contest over who could hold a plank longer while reciting lines. It was so intense and playful, disciplined and impulsive. Demet made it clear that sometimes she rolled her eyes with a smile, sometimes she jumped in, and sometimes she hid behind a script just to watch. But she never denied its power. The habit coaxed people back to life. And at least once a day, he would pull her into the center, placing an imaginary crown on her head as the reigning champion of focus, then challenge her to outplank him while their co-stars counted down and bet dessert on the winner. These moments lived inside a bubble of laughter and sweat and softness. They fed the scenes that followed. And though the cameras never captured the ritual itself, the afterglow did show up in their performances. The warmth, the teasing cadences, the way a charged silence could end in a smile. Why reveal it now? Maybe because time has a way of sanding the edges off memories and leaving the bright parts glowing. Maybe because Demet has been in a spirit of telling the truth about the work without tearing down the people who do it. Or maybe because she knows how the audience reads between the lines of their story. How they hunt for the moment when two professionals became more than scene partners, when gaze turned into language, when a habit started to look like a pulse they shared. If you listened carefully to her tone, there was no bitterness. There was no scorch. There was a woman remembering what it felt like to stand next to a man who refused to let the day sink under its own weight. She remembered the smell of coffee and the sting in her arms and the sound of laughter echoing off a soundstage. She remembered the way the crew teased her when she beat him by a second, and the stubborn way he insisted on a rematch before lunch. She remembered that break times aren't empty, they are the seams that hold the fabric together. Of course, as soon as the story spread, skeptics lined up. Was this staged? Was it a calculated attempt to rebrand him as softer, sweeter, more accessible? The counters came back just as fast. Those who had ever crossed paths with him behind the curtain nodded along. They had seen the espresso rounds. They had felt the tug of his energy. They recognized the leadership dressed up as mischief. And that's the heart of it. Ken's image on screen leans toward magnet and mystery. But behind the scenes, the habit that Demet gifted to the public tells us he is also an engine. He gets moving and everyone else remembers they have gears, too. The reason the anecdote became a headline is because it reframed him not as a statue but as a spark. What about the couple dynamic? This is where fans leaned in closest. They saw the way Demet told the story, soft at the corners, bright in the middle, and they imagined the invisible choreography developed between two people who learned to trust each other in the gaps between action and cut. You can learn someone in those gaps. You learn how they recover, how they listen, how they use joy as a tool, how they handle the heaviness that comes with carrying a whole fiction on their backs. Yes, social media split down the center. One side called it adorable, a proof that his intensity hides a generous streak. The other asked how such a loud ritual kept itself hidden this long. But both sides agreed on one thing: it felt like they had been allowed to peek through a keyhole, and the room behind it was warmer than they expected. The best part of this kind of reveal is how it changes the way you rewatch. Once you know, you start hunting for the glow that comes after the circuit, the ease that follows the grin. You look for the moment the scene picks up speed, as if someone just whisper counted down from 5. And if you're paying attention, you can see the way the day leans forward, just a little, as if the set itself is taking one more breath with them. For those asking whether this erases the distance he keeps from tabloids, the answer is no. Guarded people don't stop guarding because a friend told a sweet truth. They simply become clearer in outline. You can be private and still be generous. You can be severe on screen and still organize a 2-minute dance of endorphins when no one is looking. And you can care about performance so much that you build a small temple out of routine to keep everyone awake under the lights. Demet's choice to share wasn't a strategy, it was a tone. A tone that says the work matters, the people matter, the mood matters. A tone that admits the difference between surviving a long day and turning it into a memory is sometimes just a speaker, a coffee cup, a dare, and a pair of eyes ready to laugh. That's the simplicity that became a headline. Why do breaks matter so fiercely? Because they're not blank space, they're where the cast and crew lay down their burdens and pick up notes that no script will ever include. They are where the tough scenes get metabolized. In those minutes, little rituals act like bridges. And if one person is bold enough to lead, the whole set learns how to cross. So the next time you watch can step into a role with that thundercloud stillness, remember the habit Demet described. Remember the clap that starts it, the espresso shot that anchors it, the laughter that lifts it, and the playful contest that seals it. Imagine the crew's tired faces smoothing out just before the slate snaps back into place. Think of the energy catching like a spark in dry kindling. That isn't a scandal. That's a secret rhythm. And maybe that's why this tiny confession roared so loud. It didn't promise chaos. It delivered connection. It traded in the one currency that never loses value behind closed doors: human warmth. The kind you can't fake, the kind that lingers in the air like music even after the song is over. For Can and Demet, it's one piece of the puzzle that fans always sensed but never saw named. For everyone else, it's proof that the best stories aren't always scripted. Sometimes they're lived in the seconds no one thinks to film. Stay with Whispers of Turkish Stars if you want more of these unguarded corners, because the truth is, what you just heard is less a scoop and more a bridge to understanding how legends are built. Coffee by coffee, laugh by laugh, breath by breath between action and cut.